channel started out with me reading romance books, and so in honor of the Day of Love, I have brought to you my favorite romances of all time. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Bree and this is For a Pause in a Book. I started my channel over 7 years ago and I started by reading a ton of romance books. Over the years, I think I have definitely honed in on what I love about romance, and I have quite the stack of books that I absolutely love in the contemporary romance genre. I haven't had a chance to really highlight romance books recently, and so I wanted to take today in honor of Valentine's Day to do that, to bring you some of my all-time favorite romance books. You'll probably notice that there is some overlap, some similarities in the themes and what I like in a romance book, and so if you have similar tastes to me, hopefully you will enjoy these as well. These are going to span from the like cute and fluffy all the way into a little bit of dark, a little bit twisted, though I'm not really a dark romance girly, so you're not gonna find those recommendations. Sierra Simone is about as dark as I get. I'm also gonna have a video next week that'll come out that will also have some romance recommendations in it. That's going to be specifically for Realmathon, and there will be some overlap there. But today I just want to gush about some of my favorite romances, some of the best books that I've read in a long time. So, the one thing you should know about me, the first similarity you will see here is that I really like queer romances. That is something I'm very much drawn to, and so there's a lot of queer romance recommendations here. The first one meeting that criteria, that is The Romance Recipe by Ruby Barrett. This was one of my favorite books the year that I read it. It is a grumpy sunshine romance with a chef and a restaurant owner. The owner is in danger of losing her restaurant. She is definitely met with some financial struggles, and so her and the chef pair up to go on this cooking competition to try to get money to save the restaurant. So if you like the cooking competition shows, you like those, you know, Great British Bake Off type stories, and you like a good queer story, this is going to be the book for you. It is steamy, it is spicy, and it is really, really gay. I also really enjoyed The Friendship Study by this same author. This is a book that I read this past year, and it is a male-female relationship, but the male main character is bisexual. He is a firefighter, but he is dealing with an injury, and so he's kind of dealing with a career change because this injury may affect his ability to go back to work. These two people pair up just to make friends. Like, they're not great at making friends because, you know, adulting is really hard, and they start in on this psychology study where they're supposed to meet friends, but the rule of the study is that they can't hook up with the other participants, and you know, they definitely do. So there's a little bit of a taboo romance, a little bit of forbidden romance. There's also fantastic mental health representation in here, as well as ADHD representation. And as someone who has been diagnosed in the last year and a half with ADHD, that is something that I am constantly looking for in books. It would not be a romance recommendations video without talking about the queen of romance, and that is Talia Hibbert. I have read her entire backlist. I love everything that she writes, but her two series that I absolutely adore are Ravenswood. This is A Girl Like Her. This is also fantastic mental health representation. Our main character is autistic, and this is a small town romance. This is her self-pub series, and so it's a little bit more steamy than her traditionally published work. You know, you don't have the limitations that trad pub sometimes puts on your books, but this book is about two neighbors, and he starts cooking for her because he realizes that she doesn't cook. She can't cook, she just doesn't want to cook, and so he just starts bringing over lasagna, and it's adorable and cute, and it's so good. And every one of the books in this series has a different couple. They're all living in the same town, Ravenswood, but it follows different couples in there, so it's kind of like interconnected standalones. And then obviously her most popular series is The Brown Sisters. This is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. This is the second book in the series. This one is definitely my favorite of it, but it follows three different sisters and their relationships. Again, extremely wonderful representation. They're all plus size. There is fibromyalgia representation in Get a Life, Chloe Brown. This one has amazing anxiety representation. There is a scene with an anxiety attack, and it is so beautifully portrayed. Just a chef's kiss. Also, he listens to romance audiobooks, and his headphones don't work one time, so that happens. And then Eve, the youngest sister in the third book, there is autism representation in that. I cannot say enough about this series, but I know that everyone talks about these series, or at least they did when these were coming out. It's a few years old at this point, but oh my gosh, this is probably, to date, my favorite romance series of all time. I realize that there is absolutely no rhyme or reason to this video as far as which order we're doing this in, other than it was the order that I took them off of my shelves and put them in the stack. The next one I have is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. I've actually read all of her books. This is my favorite of hers. This also has a reality show aspect to it. We are essentially on this world's version of The Bachelor, and this is about The Bachelor and his producer. So yes, it is gay. It's queer. This guy is on a TV show where he is supposed to date 20-something women, and instead he falls for his producer, his handler. And it is adorable. This also has amazing anxiety and mental health representation. That, I think, is probably going to be the underlying theme of all romance recommendations for me, is mental health representation. It's something that I have always pushed and strived to promote on my channel, and it's something that I passionately believe in. I believe that contemporary romance has the ability to easily become very stilted, very one-dimensional, and so when you add in things like mental health representation or chronic pain or something that kind of rounds out the character, then it adds another level of depth to the character and to the story as a whole. Romance is a genre that has been around since forever, okay? It is the #1 selling genre in publishing by a lot. But it's only been in the last 4 or 5 years where this idea of diversity and the idea of individuality has really come out in our main characters. Historically, I think romance has become this, you know, our female main character is the size 2 Princess Ingenue type person, and our, you know, male main character is this hunky man's man type thing. And so when you find stories that have, you know, some sort of difference in it, then it's easier for the reader to identify with the main characters, to relate to the main characters. And so if you take me, for example, personally, I grew up a little bit bigger. I am a plus size woman. I am neurodivergent. I am queer. So all of these things that make me who I am, it's always nice to see someone who could be like you as the main character of a romance. That was a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of a rabbit trail. All that to say, I really like it when I can see representation in the books, and this has fantastic mental health representation. Tangent over. Next up is a little novella that I read in one evening this summer and absolutely loved it, and that is A Silver Foxed. Kayla's writing is absolutely hilarious, but it is so sexy and steamy. I've actually read a couple of her novellas before, and I have her full-length novels on my TBR, hoping to get to them sooner rather than later. She actually just came out with a new one called Whirlwind that is on my way to me, and it is Twisters related. You know, the movie Twisters, storm chasing, tornadoes, that thing. It's on its way. Anyways, this is about a woman who goes to her parents' like beach cabin, and she thinks she's going to be alone, and then also this guy who is her dad's co-worker also goes to that cabin. He thinks he's going to be alone, and they're not, so then they have a fun, sexy weekend. Obviously, they kind of want to keep it a secret because there's like an age gap issue. There is, you know, you work for my dad kind of a thing. And yeah, this is very sexy, very steamy. This is mostly smut, a little bit of plot. So if you do want something that's a quick, smutty, spicy time, this is going to be fantastic. The most vanilla scene in here is the one where they're in the hot tub. That should tell you a lot. Next up, we have The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa, and this is such a fun book. This is a fake dating, fake engagement kind of story, which is always a fun time in a contemporary romance. And I think the reason why I like fake dating is because in reality, in real life, that would never happen, right? You're not gonna like just go up to somebody and be like, hi, I need a boyfriend for publicity purposes, so let's date. Like, that's not happening in real life unless you're a celebrity, maybe. But anyways, this woman overhears something that the bride at a wedding says, saying like, oh, I'm not in love with him, blah, blah, blah. And so then she is like a +1 to this wedding. So she does not know the couple. And then when the priest says, you know, does anyone object? She's like, I do. they don't love each other. And so the wedding gets called off. Come to find out, it was like a political marriage to begin with. You know, they were just doing it basically to further their careers. And so then he's like, well, I need to make partner at my law firm, and I cannot do that unless I am married, for some reason that only makes sense in romance books. And so then they get engaged. They get engaged. And then obviously they're going to catch feelings. It's a very good time. They have to pretend like they are engaged for real because the other person that is up for the partner job, whatever, is like, wait a minute, I don't think you two are really together. I think this is an act. And so they have to like really prove that it is not. And obviously in the meantime, they catch feelings. Our female main character is also Brazilian. My husband is from Brazil, and so when they're talking about the Brazilian food and the Brazilian culture and stuff like that, it was just very nostalgic for me. I absolutely like Brazilian food. If you have not had it before, delicious, amazing. And the culture of Brazil is just so fun and lively and like family oriented, and I really felt that in the book, which was absolutely fantastic. And so yeah, I've read several of her books by now, but this one is definitely my favorite. As I have started to read more and more fantasy, I have started to increase the number of series that I have read. Contemporaries do not necessarily have series per se, although we are starting to see that more and more, or at least like these interconnected standalones, and that is the case with these next two. So the first one I have is Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. This is the first in the Written in the Stars trilogy, and there are three that each have their own couple. They are all interconnected. And they're not even really standalones, other than like they do have their own individual romance arc. So we have a happily ever after at the end of each book, but they kind of build on each other in that this couple is in the next book and then they're in the third book, that kind of thing. This one specifically is a modern day Pride and Prejudice retelling, and it's about these two women that could not be more different. They are very, very different. Okay, we have one who is like an accountant type person. She's very analytical, spreadsheets, that kind of thing. And then we have our other woman who runs an astrology Instagram site or blog, something like that. Just very, you know, spur of the moment, live life kind of person. Very different people. And they go on a date. It goes horribly, but then they end up fake dating together because they don't want her brother to like find out that it didn't work. They're like, stop setting me up with every lesbian you know. Well, we're dating, okay, we're dating. And then obviously, again, fake dating leads to real feelings, and it's a favorite trope of mine. I did not necessarily love the second book in this series. It's definitely my least favorite of the three. So this one was 5 stars, and the third one was 5 stars. The second one I think was 3 stars. Like, you could technically skip that one if you wanted to. One of the characters is very much a Disney adult, so if that was gonna drive you nuts, don't do that. Okay, the proposal happens on Space Mountain. But the first one and the third one, fantastic. It definitely has a rom-com feel to it. It's funny and quirky and, you know, a little bit over the top, but it's kind of what you want in these books. And then the other kind of trilogy of interconnected couples is the Bright Falls trilogy. This is also a queer story. All 3 of these in this series are sapphic relationships. This is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. It's the first one. It's about this woman who comes back to her town, or her hometown, to photograph her stepsister's wedding, which ends up going horribly wrong. It's a whole thing, okay? But anyway, she ends up meeting up and, you know, kind of resparking things with her friend, like acquaintance from high school, and it is sexy, it is smutty, it is steamy. It is a very, very good time. The second book is actually my favorite one in the series, which is funny because most people are scared of the second book, because in the first book, Astrid is not a great character. She's very whiny, she is very self-centered, and in the second book she is a very different person. She becomes just a fantastic main character. She really has a glow up, and the second book is my favorite of the series, but all 3 of them were 5 stars. Next up, we have Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. This book should have been my best book of 2023. However, because we were still under the St. Martin's boycott, I couldn't talk about it. So that was a really sad day, honestly. This book is one of like a handful that actually visibly made me sob, made me cry. I love the representation in this book. This book is about a woman who finds out that she has ADHD as she is like kind of entering this relationship, which was a very similar scenario, a similar situation to what I was in, because I didn't get diagnosed until I was, you know, over 30. And sometimes things just make so much more sense after you have a diagnosis. And that's kind of what happened here. There is one scene in here that I, to this day, still, like, it lives rent-free in my mind. And that is that the two girls, this is a sapphic soccer relationship, if I didn't tell you that. They're on a professional soccer team. It's essentially like sapphic Ted Lasso, but with like Danny and Roy Kent. If those two were together, that would be what this book was. The scene that lives rent-free, okay? They get into a little bit of an argument. They kind of are not talking to each other. One of the girls is ignoring the text and kind of ghosting her. And our main character is like, no, we are not doing this. It gives me anxiety if we let things go, if we let things fester. If you don't tell me why you're feeling this way and what I did, then this isn't gonna work. And she stands outside her house and it's like, I'm not leaving until we talk. And like, it was so me. It was so perfect, because I get so much anxiety when someone is like, can we talk? You know, or like, hey, if my boss texts me and says, can we meet at the end of the day? I think I'm getting fired. I will spend the whole day thinking I'm getting fired. It never happens. I don't know why I feel that way, but I have this like fight or flight response when I don't know immediately why something is happening. So anyways, rent-free in my head a year and a half later. Finally, let's talk about Sierra Simone, because she is probably my favorite romance author for a multitude of reasons. However, these books are definitely on the darker, kinkier, spicier side than everything else that I have said up until this point. So if you're not into that, have a great day. Put a heart down below, and I'll talk to you in my next video. But for those of you who want to be here for the spice, I have two series that I absolutely love from Sierra. The first one is American Queen, or the New Camelot trilogy. This is a threesome, like a poly group with the president and the first lady and the vice president, and they're all a happy throuple. Well, not so happy all the time. It's a little messy. It's very messy. Listen, if you are a fan of the show Scandal, if you are really sad that that show ended, pick this up. Pick this series up. Now, definitely check the trigger warnings. The second book is not my favorite. There is some abuse that tends to be not dealt with. Not abuse from them. Some trauma that like they should have gone to therapy for, but instead didn't. You know, worked it out themselves. If you know what I mean. This is a very spicy, smutty, fun, good time. And I'm here for it. I read this one specifically as a baby booktuber, and I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. And then I finally finished out the series last year, and it was one of my best books of the year. Absolutely loved it. And then one of my best books of the year before came out of nowhere. Priest. This book is about a priest, obviously, and a woman who comes in for a confessional. Yeah, so we break a lot of rules. We cross a lot of boundaries, to the point that at one point in this they use the altar oils, and they do it on the altar. So yeah, this is very powerful for someone deconstructing, or who has deconstructed from religion and from the church. Sierra also deconstructed from religion. She grew up Catholic, and so this has a very personal story to her. And it's not, I mean, it's sacrilegious, but like in the most respectful way possible, if that makes any sense. In the most like deconstructing way possible. We're not trying to crap on religion per se. We're not trying to, you know, throw a middle finger to the whole idea of religion, but we're definitely making sure that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It is my mission to read all of Sierra's backlist at one point, but my god, does she have a ton of books. So we may not get to it this year, but it is a goal of mine. Alright, those were some of my favorite romance books. I've been on this platform for over 7 years now, and so I have amassed quite the list of books that I love and adore, and so I wanted to share that with you in honor of Valentine's Day. So, if you would like to, if you want to share with the group, put your favorite romance book down below. It can be contemporary, it can be romantasy, whatever, dark romance, whatever your favorite book about love is. And if you are not feeling chatty, put your favorite color heart down in the comments below. If you want to stick around and hang out some more, I'm going to put a video right here that YouTube thinks that you are going to like. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. That is all I have for you today. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, than links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!